Well, this is our freedom tree. When we do sex trafficking tattoo removals, we ask the victims after we're all done to take and dip their hand in paint, place it up here on the wall. You know, these are all the handprints of people who were trafficked in the United States. When I got saved, it's like, God, you know, I misused the first 38 years of my life, and I want to live the rest of my life for you. You just got to tell me what you want me to do. Of course, the first thing that popped into my head is tattooing. I love doing that more than anything. I had been a tattoo artist for about 15 years, but I was like, that's not doing God's work. Friends that I had worked with in warehousing, I would walk into a lunchroom and they'd see whatever tattoo I got done over the weekend and say, man, I wish I could get nice tattoos like you have. All I have are these stupid old gang tattoos. And it just clicked. I reached out to a couple friends who were probation officers up in the city, and I said, hey, I believe this is my calling. I'm gonna start removing gang tattoos for free. Do you think people will take us up on it? Both of them kind of laughed and they said, now we could have people lined up around the block. And we started Ink 180. I actually did a cover-up for the first one I did. It was for a guy named Junior. I covered his tattoos on his arm, and when he looked down and saw that gang tattoo was covered, he started crying. The relief on his face, and you could feel it. You could feel the pain that he had been through trying to get rid of those old tattoos that defined his past. A lot of people ask, you know, what's the big deal about getting rid of the tattoos? Well, if you have tattoos on your face, your hands, or your neck, it's very hard to get a job. In addition, they're in danger from both former enemies and former friends. They consider it almost like false advertising. So they don't want you walking around with their marks on you. And they have brutal ways of getting rid of them too. They'll burn them off, they'll cut them out. So these people are desperate to get rid of these tattoos. So we put this up just to kind of give gang members an exclamation point when they leave here and they've covered or removed their tattoos. It's, you know, these colors represent their gangs. They tie it up here to the wires, and we've got everything from gangster disciples, Latin kings, imperial gangsters. This was a Crip from Kansas City when I was down there, Bloods. One Sunday I was in church and I'd given an update on the ministry, and an agent from Homeland Security was there. He asked me afterwards if I would come speak to their gang unit. He said, hey, do you mind if there's a few more agents? Our trafficking team wants to hear what you're doing. I said, what does drug trafficking have to do with this? And he said, no, it's human trafficking. I was in shock. They started just giving me the facts and the figures and blew me away. I had no idea this was happening in the United States, Chicago, let alone my community where I live here in Oswego. And I said, where do tattoos come into play? And they started laying out 8x10 pictures on this big boardroom table we were sitting at. There were barcode tattoos put on victims by their traffickers, pimps' names, vulgar images, words, rules that the pimps have for girls, contact information for pimps, almost like a business card tattooed on these victims. And it broke my heart. They took my art medium that I love and care about so much and made it disgusting. And then they started showing me pictures of these victims' faces. And I broke down because they looked just like my daughter and her friends. Then they asked me if I'd be willing to extend the ministry to help the victims of human trafficking. I was like, how can I say no? Of course. They're very, very shattered people. I can't even use the word broken because their psyche is very fragile. We've had girls collapse on the floor in tears because they don't have to look in the mirror when they brush their teeth or brush their hair and see that, you know, barcode on their neck or their pimp's name on their neck or their hands or knuckles. They're always highly visible. They're not hidden. So just the fact that they know they don't have to ever look at that again and that doesn't have a hold on them is an amazing feeling. And it's very visible when they see that it's gone, that emotion comes flowing out. So I always point out this handprint right here. It was a 13-year-old girl. She was actually kidnapped from a shopping mall in Des Moines, Iowa. Trafficked for 2 years, and she was rescued here in Chicago. It almost feels like you're a repo man for Jesus. Like you're going after these souls who have slipped towards Satan, and you're pulling them back and introducing them to the Lord and helping them realize that second chance is there for them and grace is for everybody. And being able to be that agent that kind of makes that introduction to people, that's the best feeling, the best rush in the world. That makes it all worth it. And we thought we would do 4 or 5 of these things a month when we started 3 years ago, and we've done over 2,200 now free of charge. People will come to me and say, man, what a great idea. This is so cool that you do this. And I say, guys, I don't want any credit for this ministry. Inc. 180 was not something I came up with. I didn't dream it up. I asked God what he wanted me to do. I listened and I followed through. Other than that, he's done all the heavy lifting. So have that conversation with God and say, what gifts have you given me that I can use to serve and help others in the community, as opposed to just using those gifts for my own enjoyment in life. We all have gifts and we're all unique. He made us all unique. And it's time for us all to start getting a mop and cleaning up this world using our gifts from God.